All right, gang. It is shaping up to be another hot one. Another scorcher. Just walking down to the barn, I broke a sweat. So we're not going to be out here long, that's for sure. The pigs are out in their wildflower patches. Again, they won't be out for long. Everybody's in the shade. The donkeys are in their stall. The boys are in their stall. Everybody wants the shade. Well, there's Miss Fanta. So all the girls are out today. Good. We've got some rolling going on with the little dogs. I don't have Tonka with me. Here's Miss Ladybug. Hi, girlfriend. Hi, Rennie. Yeah, you still a good girl. Oh, your beard's all wet. You've been drinking. So I'm going to have to refresh everybody's water, of course. Part of the deal with this kind of heat is we go ahead and refresh water multiple times a day, even if the buckets aren't empty, because cool water is nice for everybody. Yeah, the boys are inside. The cats are nowhere to be found. Everybody is pretty much done. So I thought we could do a little walk around. We have not done a walk around in a long time, actually, since, before winter last year. So things are pretty overgrown. We haven't mowed it yet. As I head into the woods, temperature dropped significantly, which is nice. Of course, there's always a risk of ticks, especially with all of this being so overgrown. But for those that are new, I guess first things first, I'm Pam. This is Racing for Home Farm, where the animals rule the schedule, and I try and keep up. I don't do it very well. Nothing here is scripted. Nothing here is planned. Everything is sort of impromptu, and for the most part, the animals are cute, so it makes up for it. One of the hallmarks of our summer and fall is we walk through the woods. Part of this property is about 19 acres of woodlands that we work with the state on a woodlands management program for. Back we just had our inspection this year, so passed with flying colors, thankfully. We have some work to do, so this path, semi-path, it's pretty overgrown at the moment, is actually a logging trail. Of course, we don't do any logging, it's just what it's called. We do have a tree down from one of the storms that happened over the winter. And again, if you've been following for a while, I actually, videoed this tree when it was brand new down. It's got no leaves, it's long since dead. And we have to get this out of the path. But for the most part, if trees are down, we leave them alone. It's woods. Woods manage themselves. We don't need to change the environment. And if they're not blocking a pathway that we need in order to make sure that we maintain the woods, then we leave them alone. In this case, like these branches here are fine. They're going to stay exactly where they are. We also, this has been years now, but when we first bought this property, there was no barn, there was no pasture, it was all woodland. So we did have to clear land for the pastures. And in order to do that, we did take down a number of trees, many more trees than I would like. So in order to balance our impact on the environment, we did a little bit of what you're seeing here. Again, I know things are overgrown. The dogs are loving it though. And it's nice and cool, so I'm loving it. But all of the trees that were felled to create pastures, we stacked next to the pastures to create habitat. And I've talked about this before, so I'm going to not do a full, overview, but essentially all of the trees that were dropped in order to clear land for the barn and the pastures, we stacked all along the perimeter of the pastures, and it's multiple purpose, right? One is it creates a ton of habitat for the wildlife that we may have displaced. Birds, mammals, rodents, you name it, they're using it, right? the fox's den here, raccoons, skunks, opossums, weasels, rats, mice, just about anything that you could have living in this protected, overgrown den, we have. And yes, it's right next to our pastures. But because it's so accessible and it's extensive, right? There's plenty of space for everybody because it runs the whole length of the pasture. It actually keeps most of the wildlife out of the pastures. There's really no need for them to go into the pastures. They've got their cover here. They've got great den sites. And over the years, with the foliage growing up through it, the vines taking over, and we've just let this go, right? This was planned, yes, but nature has done what nature does, right? It's created hollows, it's created dens, it's created cover. So by doing that and giving the wildlife all of this habitat back, we actually, despite the fact that we cleared a lot of trees, we created more habitat than when we started. Of course, the other thing we did is we planted trees to replace, not in the same place, of course, but we did plant trees, and we continue to plant trees every year just to continue to provide back. So as I look across the woods, right, they're not thick, they're not deep, they're expansive, right? So they go all the way around the property. And by having the wildlife, denning in these safe environments, they can then head right out into the woods and hunt, get what they need. There's water sources, there's foliage, the deer bed down back here. And throughout the year, throughout the seasons, we supplement a little bit. So like right now, everything is wild and crazy, kind of like our pastures. And we've got some really cool florals, wildflowers happening. These are cute. The weeds, everything here feeds something, right? And that's exactly what the purpose was, is to create a balance where the wildlife are not feeding on our livestock, because that would be negative. And we've had that happen. It does, it's not perfect by any means, but it's better. And two is, where we have created impact on our environment, we've tried to give it back. And we've tried to give it back, sort of like when you borrow something, right? You're supposed to return it better than you got it. Well, that's what we've tried to do, is create better than what was here. And what was here was just more of this, more woods, trees. We've unfortunately been in an area where we're impacted by some imported bugs, emerald ash borers being the big one, that have impacted a lot of trees in our area. So we had a lot of deadfall that we had to take care of anyway as a result of that. And like I said, if a tree falls down, and this one has, and it's not blocking a trail or a path that we need in order to maintain both our pastures and the environment, it stays down. It goes back to nature. Nature does what nature does. We don't mess with it. And, at the end of the egg laying season, I should say, when I'm done with hatching eggs and when I'm done with chicks and ducklings and turkey poults, I deliver eggs back here, which of course feed a lot of the younger animals, young fox, skunks, opossums, raccoons, that are learning to hunt, that may not be doing a very good job of it, that may be struggling a bit. It's just a little supplement to, help them get through those hard times. There's plenty of food here, by the way, for them. It's not like there isn't a ton of food all around. But when they've been kicked out of the nest, right, mom's no longer taking care of them and they're on their own, just like kids, right? They're young, they're stupid, they have to learn, and they miss a lot more than they get. So we deliver eggs back here. our excess eggs. In the fall, I brought all those pumpkins and gourds from the pig pasture out here, way out here, right? I don't want them. I never mentioned squirrels and chipmunks. I always forget about them. I just saw one. That's what brought it up. I don't want them associating the pasture area with food, so I bring it way back here into what I call kind of the deep woods, right? Way past where our animals would ever be, other than my dogs. And yeah, I put out pumpkins and gourds. So, we do try and supplement where we can at certain times of the year. And again, it's done pretty strategically so that we don't have what I would call wildlife that are dependent on us, right? We want them to be dependent on these woods. I love having them around. I love having a herd of deer and turkey and all the different birds on the property. I'm an avid birder, so I absolutely love having all the birds. Sorry, we stirred something up. I'm looking for it. I don't see it. Probably deer would be my guess at this time of the day. I love having the ability to come back here and do some birding right on my property. It's for the most part New Jersey backyard birds, right? We don't get a whole lot of unusual birds here, but it's still nice to see them. So yeah, when it's 85 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning, the woods are the place to be if you're going to be outside. More of these little flowers. I don't know what these white flowers are. If you know what they are, let me know. They've popped up out of nowhere. They're really quite pretty. They're very tiny. They've got little black stems or stamens in there. Is that what they're called? Stamens? I think so. If I remember my plant parts correctly. But yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to round up Sophie and Bailey. We're going to go find Hugo. Hugo has learned he can't come back here this far anymore. It's just too much walking for him. The last time he did it, I had to carry him back. And that was last year. So I'm thinking this year he's probably just sitting at the top of the woods waiting for us to come back. But yeah, that is summertime here at Racing for Home Farm, where we have some cool spots to hang out. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day. If you've listened this far, hit that subscribe button for me, would you please? It's free, costs you nothing, doesn't get you on any mailing lists, but it sure does help the farm an awful lot. Every subscriber counts, and I see you, I listen to you. Leave a comment, let me know what you're thinking, what you want to hear, what you want to talk about, and I'll see what I can do to accommodate. All right, until next time, I got work to do. Bye for now.